Okay. I wasn't sure it was recording, but now I know it does. I'm trying to do a mind balance today because I know there's a lot of street ahead and I'm walking with the dog again, who I have the feeling she needs to pee, but there's no grass. So now I'm trying to have my focus on her and at the same time talk. Because I don't want to ignore her. Right? Like I sometimes do it, to go and be overly important. And then she feels like I'm neglecting her because my need is to press on and to, get shit done and stuff. And, I'm working. I'm so important because I'm working. I'm helping people. I'm contributing to whatever I want to call what I'm doing, right? That's how some people work. And that's how I've seen them work. And because I've seen them work like this, I thought that this is how you have to work. And that seems to me a bit stupid. Yeah. So now she has needs, and as a child I had needs. And the feeling I got when my father was working was that, I have to work now. And if you make one sound, I'm going to punish you. This is somebody's lawn, and she has to pee. Come. So I don't want to let her pee onto somebody's lawn. It's just disrespectful because there's too many dogs. And if they all pee on somebody's lawn, then soon every dog will pee there. It's just a form of respect. That's how I feel. But if she really has to pee, then she just has to get it done because I'm walking here and she's looking for a spot that she feels like here I can pee, right? So I'm also looking for... It's just pee. I mean, she's not taking a shit. Let's just pee. So I have the feeling, that's okay. If somebody gets angry, I say, hey, sorry. I try to move her to a Fuß. Fuß? Okay. Because now I also have to make sure, we're getting through this in one piece. That I'm not getting angry. Because I did drink a coffee. So I could say, I'm really riled up. But I'm aware of that. And there was a reason. Still barefoot, by the way. Which is not a recommendation, but just a sign, that I'm still working on it. Because yesterday, bless him. He's such a good soul. Well, you've never met me, so don't jump to conclusions. Because yesterday was my birthday, which at one point in your life may lose all its meaning. And today is also the day, why also, but today is a day where I feel like nice. It's sunshine. And as soon as I woke up, it was already like this. And then you think, how am I going to spend that day? And then I already had a project in my mind, which I have been developing since I made that song, Mickey and Fiends, which is like, Mickey and Fiends. If you want to know what that's about, why fiend. So the R is small and the fiend, komm, hab. And the fiend is big. You know, that's how I hide messages in some of my, you know, picture names on Instagram. It's just, you know, you take a word and you bring out something else that is hiding inside it. You know, it can be a hidden meaning. Calm. It can be a hidden meaning or just a different perspective on the word itself. And how can I have that? Well, I've been working on that, right? If there's a word that I find is bothering me, or a name, I start taking it apart. I start taking the word that is bothering me apart to dissolve whatever is bothering me. So for example, there is a name of a woman that I once thought would be, you know, my partner for life. You know, it turned out to be that she wasn't. You know, at least I think so. You know, it's hard to say sometimes, you know. I still don't know what's going to happen in my life. You know, I'm open to all kinds of things. While to other things I am closed. At least I'm open to discussing it with myself. Fuß. Hey, we're not in a hurry. Right? So this is like, she's walking like I'm very young and I want to run and sniff. Yeah, but now you have to walk on the leash and sniff. So the least you can do is, like, you know, make it so that I can walk next to you without you feeling, you know, you're too slow for me or you're holding me back, right? Because that's the feeling I always got from my father when he was working, like, stay away because I'm working and now I'm really important, and whatever kind of need you have certainly can't be as important as me working. So if that's your mentality as a man in a family, you will probably be some kind of asshole. And at the same time, wow, look at this. I feel like this is a perfect spot to do pull-ups, by the way, which I won't do right now because my mission is doing something else, which we will get to when we're there. So because I had already a plan today, you know, I asked myself, how am I going to set that plan into motion? Because, calm. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, you know, I won't let you, like, Amy, Fuß. You know, I won't let you in the dark that much. Okay, so I was waiting for a day like this. With good weather, you know, good is relative. Good weather for what? Because any weather is good if you know how to engage with it. You know, that also means any person has the potentiality to be good simply because that person may have something to teach you. Now we're getting, you know, sometimes I have to slow a bit down, so you know, I can't be too angry at her for holding me back a little. Okay, so sometimes you meet people and you think like, oh, I really hate that guy, right? I really hate that guy. And then you rob yourself probably of the chance, why there, of getting to know that person. You know, something people do when they get older, they start marking their territory, just as dogs. It's like you're putting up a perimeter, and in that perimeter, only certain people are allowed. And if that person isn't the way you want them to be, you know, they're an asshole, right? And if the weather isn't, you know, blue sky, I'm going to be in a bad mood, right? That's how people are. That's how people think. If it's raining, I'm gonna be miserable because rain ultimately means being miserable. Well, that means 50% of your life is going to be absolutely shit, like a literal hell, because you subconsciously have adopted the mindset from other people and from the weather forecast, right? It's like, tomorrow is gonna be good weather because we're gonna have no rain. Well, for what is that good? You know, if we have no rain 365 days a year, we're living in a desert. I mean, I hope you understand that. And generally in deserts, growing things, it's quite hard. So what are you gonna eat, right? If you're living in that good weather kind of place. So maybe you begin to understand then what you think is good weather doesn't exist. Because there's good weather for certain things, and then there's good weather for other certain things. And then you may say, okay, to do this and that, you know, so to go and lay in the sun, rainy weather is bad. But to go for a walk in the rain, rainy weather is really good. And to me, slacklining, now I've said it. Slacklining is, to me, best done when it's sunny, simply because that's the kind of comfort. That's the kind of comfort, right, I allow myself to have, you know, because I can actively choose when to go slacklining. And that means when I have, so for example, like the last 2 weeks, I didn't feel like slacklining. Why? Because the weather was more a kind of, you know, I'm going for hikes, you know, I'm going for walks, and I'm contemplating kind of weather, right? And maybe going running. And today I woke up and the sun was the way, you know, that it is, and blue sky. Yeah, you have to learn that. Slow. And that means every day I wake up and I see, you know, Amy, Fuß. The weather is, let's say, rainy or misty or really just plain uncomfortable. I adjust what I'm going to do. And it's the same with my clothes. If today I feel cold, I'm gonna dress a bit warmer and make sure I'm going for that walk anyway, because that's really gonna warm me up. But at least I can start doing so a bit comfortable, you know, despite the fact that I'm going at the moment again barefoot, simply because I've realized that that actually warms my heart on the long run. But the jacket I'm wearing is like a bit of comfort that I'm bringing with me. And so today, you know, I'm getting there. It's like serpentines, I hope you remember. Okay, so when I wake up and every day the weather, you know, is like a bit rainy and misty and dark, I make a choice because I'm adjusting to the outside circumstances and how they make me feel. Because I'm also aware of that. Sure, man, the weather has a kind of effect on me. Like today I see, whoa, look at that blue sky. You know, there's not a single cloud to be seen, which means it's perfect conditions to go slacklining. And then I'm all game for that. If I would have woken up and it would have rained, I would have said, whoa, like, oh, look at that. Today is the perfect weather conditions to wear a rain poncho. And that's like positive mindset. So instead of waking up and thinking, oh, it's raining today, so I cannot go and slackline, it's like really stupid to live such a life, because then you live in this kind of what I don't have place. You know, I'm living in the what do I have place. So, you know, if I want to make a video, what do I have available? So I wanted to make the video for Mickey and friends today. And, you know, I didn't want to... Amy, fools. Hey. So I didn't want to draw everything from scratch. So, you know, I took images I found online, and then I used that as a guide to make my own image. Because, you know, there was something, you know, I wanted to base my characters somewhat loosely on Disney characters. Because that's what the song is roughly about. It's about anything, but Disney is just one of the biggest players in the movie game. So, you know, it's worth thinking about that a bit. And so, yeah, I made something like a mouse and something like, I don't know, some weird kind of like dog creature. And then I thought, okay, what else? And so I thought of Donald Duck, obviously, but I realized, hey, wait, I already have something duck-like, something that I created myself when I was in 6th grade or 7th grade, as I just started drawing this weed smoking birdo, right? And I didn't even smoke weed until much later in my life, age of 26. And that's something I can literally recommend to people. You know, I have the feeling like everybody's kind of like putting psychedelics on a pedestal and saying, hey, that's really awesome. Yeah, it's only awesome if you know how to work with them. Because to just say, yeah, weed is really cool, and you keep smoking it because you want to be cool, that's really stupid. Because it's like drinking alcohol just because everybody else does it. You know, it's the same thing with weed. And you think I'm smoking weed because, you know, now alcohol is dumb. Well, that just makes you dumb. Because if you don't know how to deal with cannabis, you literally don't know how to deal with yourself. And so, Godly Substances is either an article on Medium, I think 6-episode series in my podcast, or an article on my website in the blog section, you know, or Not Madness is a book about psychedelics. And also, if you are already addicted on them, you know, a way to deal with that by just having put everything I've learned about psychedelics, until the point that I wrote the book, of course, into the book. Yeah, and so, you know, if you're already using them, it's probably best to start using them consciously. Yeah? It's probably best to do that. Because if you're already using them, you probably have all kinds of ideas which, you know, what they are supposed to do. And you maybe think they're gonna do all the work. Anyway, today I drank a coffee because I had the feeling, you know, yesterday was my birthday. I invited people, I made some food, and today I felt like I was run over by a truck. You know, that can happen if you spend time with other people that have emotions and stuff, right? Because you're opening up to each other, and for one evening you're like one person, and then the next the next morning you wake up, you feel like shit. Well, that means you just have to get back to yourself. And what does that mean? That means you need to have methods that remind you of who you are. You see that hat? I made it myself, right? It ain't perfect. If you see on the inside, you know, it's like kind of messy, but I've made it myself. that means there's my energy woven into the fabric of this hat. And that means it sure as hell reminds me of who I am, because I've made it. I've spent, you know, angry moments crocheting this hat. And, you know, it's not just about beauty or something that I'm wearing this, whereas other people might see it that way. Oh, what a nice hat. I'd like to have one like that. Could you make one for me? No, sorry. You have to learn that yourself, because if you really want something, you have to put in the work. And so, yeah, I've worked on my ability to slackline for about 2012. I was first introduced to it. Listen, I have no idea. I had no idea what slacklining was, just as most people. You know, I didn't even hear of it. I was studying, and my study led me to Norway, and there you could borrow a slackline, and for some reason or other I was really fixed, you know, by it. It's like, you know, your fixer is your dealer. My dealer was the slackline, because it was dealing me a way to connect with myself and to meditate actively. And soon you're gonna be off the leash. Soon she's gonna be off the leash. Oh boy, look at her. Oh boy, oh, she's already yawning. Yawning is a way to release tension. If you feel like yawning, do so as lush as you can. It's like, you know, most people suppress their yawn. Have you ever seen a lion suppress a yawn? There's even like a growl at the end of a yawn. It's like, and then the tongue comes out. Wow, that feels really good. Oh boy, look at this, oh boy. Poes. Yeah, and then just take on los. Oh yeah, look at her. Oh, she's so cute. Aha. Yeah, until you have to take a bag and put her shit away, or until you have a day where you feel really bad, you don't want to leave the house, and she wants to play with you, you know? Until that day, she's the cutest thing in the world, until she wants something from you that you don't want to give her because you are unaware of, you know, what's driving your bus at the moment. Yeah, so is it that like guy from The Simpsons? I think his name was Otto or something. You know, and did he just have a hangover? Is he sober today? Who's driving your bus, right? I mean, it's like your emotional bus. Whatever. So figure it out. I mean, that movie Inside Out, I mean, that's kind of how it is. You spend time with an angry person, you might, you know, have the next day exactly like this. So what you should do, okay. Yeah, see, part of me really wants to leave it there. But, you know, this is actually where people, you know, I'm always thinking about what if I would walk here barefoot, you know, and maybe for some reason I would have to step out of the way, you know, even walking in shoes. I mean, you know, maybe I would walk here and I would have to step out of the way. Because, well, what could be a reason to step out of the way? Just anything. You know, somebody's coming in my direction and I have to step out of the way. Just as simple as that. And suddenly, you know, I feel that, and I stepped into shit. You know, and that might just ruin my day. Or, you know, instead of being trapped in my anger, because I've seen other people doing it, I might just channel my energy up to my third eye, you know, where I should keep it all the time. And then I say, oh wow, I just stepped into shit. You know, that's the observer. That is, in a nutshell, the spiritual observer. And then you say, oh my God, I just stepped into shit. That's rather uncomfortable. You know, and then you may step into shit another time, and that just really pushes you, and you're like, God damn it, a second time. And oh wow, I just stepped into shit a second time. Isn't that wonderful? You know? And what's the lesson? Well, I had that in that park where I'm often going for walks. The lesson for me was, well, I'm not really going to dive into the park, like off the trails, because that's where all the dogs shit, because that's what parks generally seem to be for, so that people can shit, have their dogs shit somewhere. I mean, even people, you see always tissues lying around of people who don't bother to bury them. You know, if you would have been trained like I have in camping, like the basics of camping, you know, you might have concerned yourself with the question of how to shit in the woods. And, you know, as a human, we seem to have this knack of using toilet paper. That might be connected to our diet, because our diet is often quite sticky or way too soft. That probably is because we eat too much sugar. And that, of course, makes our butt quite dirty. You know, sometimes it's like everything's just like, I mean, just as I would have been sitting in a mud hole. It's just all covered in shit. And you spent ages to get that off. I mean, you could change that by changing your diet. You know, it brings me back to an anorganic sulfur cleanse by Dr. Probst, which can severely change the way you defecate, right? And all kinds of things, right? Okay. I'm really hammering it all out there, you know, but that's the kind of weather. I don't have to shout against the wind. I can comfortably walk, and, you know, that's quite nice. There is a trash bin. How lovely. You know, I was expecting that because I've been here before. That brings me back to slacklining. The reason I wanted to come here and slackline today was because I've already done it, right? I know how to slackline. I mean, you see? I know how to slackline. And that's, of course, what makes it so much easier to make a choice, like a conscious choice, and say, today I want to slackline, because I know how it feels to slackline. You know, my muscles are developed appropriately from years of training how to slackline, because I was consistent with it. And, you know, I slacklined in winter and summer. I slacklined when I smoked cannabis. I slacklined once after I drank alcohol. I slacklined once when I was... I'm not gonna throw you something now. That's just how it is. Maybe we can play later. But now I just want to get there, because that's like, you know, the sun is already sinking. So I'm on a mission. She has to, you know, figure it out for herself. Now I'm on a mission. You know, I'm doing her a favor. I'm walking. She's somewhere else. If she thinks, you know, she only has a good time if I throw her stuff, you know, I've said that before, that's her problem. Today I'm focused entirely on me. You know, yesterday I didn't bring a camera, and I did more like hiding things for her, right? So she could search for them. But if she's depending on that too much, you know, I'm out. I don't want that. I don't like it. And it's unpleasant. So every day for her also has to be a bit different. And that's how I like to make it also with myself. So today for me going slacklining was somewhat a stretch. I knew in order to feel good about going slacklining, I would have to first finish that video. So, you know, I was really focused on doing that because that's what I had decided to do. Whether that is a good decision or a bad decision is kind of out of the question in that sense, simply because it doesn't matter, right? At that point in my life, in this point in my life, it doesn't matter. I make a choice, I stick with it, yeah? Because I've chosen to do this. So if I keep doing all kinds of things, you know, I'm not gonna get shit done. So I woke up in the morning, I saw the weather was good, a plan was forming in my mind, I want to go slacklining. And then the question that presents itself is, when am I gonna do that? Am I going to do that? What do I have to do in order to feel good about doing that? Guten Tag. Es ist aber gut, wenn sie jemanden trifft, mit dem sie vernünftig spielen kann. Weil manche... Ja. Aber manche Hunde sind so aggressiv, da muss man richtig dazwischen gehen, finde ich. Weil sie ist eigentlich sehr ruhig.
Ja, bist du so ein Wasserhund?
Ja. Also sie ist recht schüchtern so.
Aber auch noch nicht alt, oder?
Nee, 1,5 oder so.
Also, ja, auch.
Ich hatte mich jetzt gerade keinen Nerv, irgendwas zu werfen, deswegen ist das perfekt.
Ich gehe mal davon aus, wenn hier die Hunde, die frei laufen, dass sie auch umgänglich sind.
Ja, ich bin nicht so oft hier, ich bin da eher so im Stadtpark.
Aber da ist ja noch schlimmer mit den Hunden als hier, oder?
Ja, aber natürlich gut, um das zu lernen. Ja.
Aber im Stadtpark sind auch viele diese ganzen Gutwichse.
Ja. Da muss man einfach mit umgehen lernen, das ist dann so. Gibt es ja auch viele Wege so außerhalb der hochfrequentierten.
Das war auch locken, ne?
Ja. Tja, jetzt machst du dir eine lange Nase. Aber ich habe die auch echt, ist gar nicht mein Hund.
Ach so.
Ich passe gerade nur auf sie auf.
Ja,
Weil-
ideale Voraussetzung.
Ja. Aber die hatte anfänglich richtig Schiss vor anderen Hunden und ich habe dann mit ihr so Hundekrafttraining gemacht.
Aha.
Die einfach aufgebaut, dass sie mehr Wumms hat. Und es klappt eigentlich ganz gut. Sonst hat sie sich immer hinter den Beinen versteckt.
Ach so. So, sollen wir weiterfinden?
Ja, schön.
Ja?
Geht weiter.
Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Yo, ciao. You see, I just kept that camera going, although it did make me feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes, because of course people like think, is he still filming? You know? Because not everybody should be filmed. You know, the only reason I'm filming myself is actually because it helps me to show to the world what I'm doing. Right? So that people can see, oh, he's actually doing that, right? And oh, who's that guy? So, of course, in a way, I want you to warm up to me so that you start working yourself. Because if you don't like me, because you don't know me, right? So yeah, in a way, this camera helps me sometimes also, you know, to look, you know, that's the observer, right? You can have that observer in a stick, but actually you always carry it with you. That's the higher consciousness. It's like crown chakra, it's somewhere up here. It's like a camera perspective on yourself. That means you're living your life not as I'm the barbarian lunatic, and then if people come and they say, oh, you're the barbarian lunatic, oh, I've seen your videos, you're really super. Then you say, okay, on this level here, I'm the barbarian lunatic. But then I zoom out a bit and suddenly I'm standing above that. And I say, yeah, whatever, you know, I'm just doing my job. So, you know, if you like it, good job, but you didn't really get the message, because it's not about saying I'm awesome, you know, it's figuring out how you get to that place where you feel like you can feel like that as well, right? So, you know, I didn't just start feeling like this because I did nothing. You know, that's the message of all of my content. You know, I started feeling like this because I started doing things. And because I once experienced how slacklining feels, I thought, I really want to know how to do that. Because watching videos of people, you know, slacklining or highlining or whatever, just really inspired me. So I wanted to do that myself. You know, it really inspired me to watch Wim Hof just be in the cold like that. Because I always thought, you know, oh, if it's cold, you know, I'm cold. Yeah. But I've also never slacklined while holding a camera. So, you know, that's a challenge right there. So, I'm going to do a bit less talking. I also brought a big line today. Yeah, that's good, I think. No. Yes. Yeah, anyway. You know, there's already on Odyssey... Am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say that there are other platforms? Who knows? Okay. No, just watch for a while. So I'm just gonna keep that going. Amy. Aus. Obwohl dir langweilig ist, brauchst du jetzt nicht hier rumkläffen. Aus. Okay. Now I want to try, because my life is certainly somewhat, this is a potential creative injury. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to somewhat position this. I'm not going to stay here too long. Because now I have to think about, of course, that there's extra weight, right? So this extension of myself, which is the camera, is now creating an imbalance. It's a lightweight camera, so that, of course, to me makes it a lot easier. Plus, I've been training to hold my focus here instead of getting sucked into that too much. So I'm aware that there is a camera, and while I'm talking, right, and I'm aware that there's a dog, right, I'm still managing to only balance now with one arm. Of course, I'm using the camera holding arm also, but my focus is on getting to the other side of the line. And so I can talk about what I'm doing, and I can allow my body to do what it wants to do, because I've trained this. I've repeatedly, and now it's a challenge, of course, to try and turn here. Right, because I haven't done that in a while. Now look at that beautiful scenery. So, you know, the first thing you want to learn how to do with anything is taking your first step, right? It starts as a child and it continues throughout your life. Right, so now, first steps, you learn how to stand. You're trying to make a few steps on the slack line. Then the next challenge is to get to the other side of the slack line. You do that by focusing at a point somewhere at the end of that line, and then you're holding your focus on that point. And then you walk, you know, without looking at your feet. Your focus is always at the end because that's what you want in your life. You know, you're focused on getting to the end, so you know you're gonna die, you know, but that doesn't keep you from living, right? It's about, you know, I know it's gonna end one day, and I'm gonna make the choices that are going to allow me to truly live on my way there. So instead of living, you know, like I'm afraid to die, you live like I know I'm gonna die, and so I want to live really well. Right? That is then, of course, the challenge. To live well, despite you knowing, right? That means you're conscious. What does it mean to know? I'm conscious, right? So now, Amy's problem is, that's the dog, at that moment, right now, the only thing she knows is what she doesn't have. So she feels like something is inconsistent with the way she thinks, you know, things ought to be, because now she's outside with a human attachment, but that person isn't playing with her. Not even talking with her, to her. Yeah, that is the, you know, she thinks that's what makes me miserable. So she's like sitting there moping, waiting for me to come and play with her or interact with her. Until I do that, she's gonna be... That's how most people live their life. Because they don't know how to live by themselves. So unless there's like a birthday or Christmas, you know, they've got nothing to celebrate, because in their mind, well, you only celebrate if there's a reason. Well, isn't life a reason to celebrate? I mean, celebrate standing on one leg. Now I managed. You see? While I was talking, while I was holding that camera. I mean, that's like years of training. You know, I don't say that to discourage you. I say that to show you, you know, you rather start now. Because if you don't start now, you're gonna be dead. And that's what some people, you know, they don't start living because they think, oh, it's not enough time, I'm running out of time, you know. There's never going to be enough time to truly live. Well, there won't be if you don't start now. You know, that's what being in the moment is about. You know, I'm living, so why don't I like do something about that? You know, I'm alive anyway. Whether I sit around feeling miserable or whether I, you know, go running barefoot in the forest, or whether I learn how to play the piano, you know, both things I can do while I'm alive. But it's certainly more of a challenge to go out there and learn piano, or to walk barefoot, or to learn how to slackline, or to create content, while there's so many people who feel miserable about their lives. You know, but instead of, I haven't done this in a while, by the way, because, you know, I pick my things. You know, if it's, like I said, if it's like raining and weather is more like you know, oh, now she's starting to play. You see, that's what I want. So today I brought a long leash because I don't want to worry about her running away. She won't do that, but I don't know it because, you know, I'm now on here. And if another dog comes and she just runs off somewhere, which probably would be fine because she wouldn't really run away from me, but at least people can't tell me, put her on a leash, right? So I can focus on doing this. So I also set, you know, now, oh, switch of hands. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh my God, you know, he knows how to do it. Oh my God, he's owning it. I mean, he really slacks the shit out of this line. I mean, slacking the shit out of his line. And now he's doing some jumping movement. He's like rotating one arm. What's gonna happen? He's keeping his focus. He keeps walking till the end. I mean, that's like, what? What is he doing? How can he do that? Well, it's years of training, my friend. And if that's not mad, well, it isn't. You know, that's what makes sense. Then that's the thing about it. People tell you, you know, if you do this, you're mad. Because they're afraid. You know, it's their fear. But what's mad about, whoa, you know, it's like, you could really injure yourself. Yeah, you know what also can injure you? Much worse? Sitting behind a laptop all day, right? Being glued to the couch. That's like the worst injury you can do to your body because it's like slowly but surely deteriorating it. So, you know, I cannot tell you how you should live your life. But if you're struggling anyway, you know, why not make it a struggle that is worth doing? Because, you know, sitting on a couch is not really a challenge. But doing this and having everything kind of plan out, because I plan to walk to the other side of this slack line, and I'm doing it. And now it's extra challenge because there's two people walking, so I'm also conscious about other people and what they might think and all kinds of stuff. Do it anyway. And if people don't like what you're doing, well, that's their problem, because that just means they don't like themselves, right? Because they hate it if you do something that you like, because that means, you know, that there's people who figured out something that they haven't figured out. And that collides with the identity they have given themselves of, I look really well in a suit, you know, or I look really well next to this car. Like, look at her, how desperate she is for my attention. It's like, you know, that's how some people are. It's like, oh, she can't get to me. She can't get to me. Oh yeah, she can't get to me. She can't get to me. It's like, oh my God, the leash is holding me. It's the state, it's opinions, it's expectations. She cannot get to me. That's how people live. That's how people live their life. It's like, I can never reach you, Christopher, please. Well, I keep walking, you know, I'm not waiting. You know, I give you all this stuff so that you can do it yourself, right? I'm not waiting for people. It's like, my needs aren't being fulfilled. Well, who's gonna fulfill them for you? Nobody. You know why I come here today? Because there's space. You know, I can be like this. I can talk like this to the camera. If I try talking like this to people, they're like, oh, you're a bit too much now. You have so much energy. What should I do with this, right? Yeah, you cannot run away from me because I'm there. Yeah, and then people hear you being like this and they stop and they look, what's he doing? Because being like this, you know, full out is unnatural because everybody's like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm gonna go working now because I feel really important if I do, and I think that's the right thing to do. And then people are going to say, hey, good job for sitting behind your screen all day, right? You know, you could have gone for a walk, but you've earned money, you know, good job. Well, that's how it is. I mean, that's literally people who work for money. That's like materialism, and that's like the whole batch of it. That's like, I want to have a super expensive car, right? And that's why I'm working like everybody else. I mean, people claim to be spiritual, but they don't have an inch of freedom in their decisions. And okay, that's of course the problem. I say I want to be free, I make a choice. I make a choice that liberates me, but that also glues me, you know, that I always have to make the same kind of choice. Because I want to be free, so I choose freedom. Because I choose anyway. If I choose to spend time with people who are stuck in themselves, you know, then I'm choosing that. Then I'm choosing to hang out with them all the time. But this is where I can feel free. You know, that also means I have to be alone, right? So having that dog, you know, I'm walking her so that she gets out, you know. I'm not walking her just for myself, because I would have gone here anyway. To take her, to me, is actually extra training, because it makes it a bit less comfortable for me. And it teaches me to prepare myself to be in a sort of a trap, where you feel like, holy shit, now I'm living with a woman, and now there's children, and they all want stuff from me. You know, how do I make sure I do what I do and help them do what they do? Like, what does a child do? Grow up, right? And so your job is to create a safe environment where the child can be free. And that means, you know, if you don't know how it feels like to be free, you cannot teach your children to be free. And then you're gonna worry all the time that they're gonna injure themselves, which means you're gonna raise them into an environment of fear. And, you know, the whole environment, the whole society, that's fear. You know, they're all clinging to each other. We need each other. We need all these resources because we're afraid we're gonna starve. You know, we're afraid we don't have enough money. We need to earn more money. You know, that's roughly how it is. You know, we need more. That's greed. And greed is root chakra based to fear. That's like channeling all your energy only into the root chakra. More, more. You know, that's like Spirited Away in a nutshell. I mean, watch that movie if you haven't, and pay attention to like concepts of fear, but most of all also greed. Like, there's a lot of beautiful images, you know, on that thing about fear. Just when you start, your body will not be able to walk you over the slack line while you stand on top talking, because the muscles just aren't developed. You have to work hard to develop the muscles in your body that you can stand like a pillar on top of a moving rope and speak to a camera, right? That is a lot of work, and that means you also need to be flexible to the circumstances that surround you. And that's what I want. I want to be flexible, but in a way also have stability, right? So I want to be able to stand firmly in a storm, but also work with the wind. That's what a tree does. It's swaying. You know, I heard somebody say, you know, the largest buildings, they have a certain freedom. Otherwise they would collapse. You know, it's like the bridges. They're hanging slightly loose so that vibrations can make them, like, they can swing, because the vibration has to go through the structure. So if you are too stiff, you know, you cannot adapt well. there's a lot of wind, you know, like life brings its own kind of wind. You know, it's like comes in the form of an emotion, depression, the death of a loved one, you know, the birth of a child. You know, that's the wind of life. It's like, you know, sometimes it's a tornado and sometimes it's something else, you know, sometimes it's just like a gentle breeze. You know, sometimes it's like really nice spending time with a person and cuddling and having sex, and then suddenly there's a child and you're like, what? Yeah, that's the wind of life, right? And you either learn to adapt, you know, or you're gonna bam. So a tree that's too old or too weak, just gonna die. She's really, you know, and that's something I came up with myself. I didn't buy this stuff, I only bought this slack line. It's like a yoga line, which is thinner. It doesn't have like whatever, you know, and I wanted it because it doesn't have like a rich ridge. I don't know how you call that, like whoosh, a wrench. This is working with carabiners because it's lightweight and I wanted it for traveling. I just used an old sheet. This is something, you know, that you can get in any hardware store. So that extends the range of my slackline. And of course this protects the tree as well as my equipment. So I wanted to make sure right, that my equipment stays also right. So when I'm walking with my slackline, I also make sure that my slackline is doing its thing. Look at her. Just look at her. It's like, is he paying attention to me now? Is he paying attention to me now? But she's not looking at the camera because the camera to her doesn't really exist. It's just the... Yeah, yeah. You're the star of the show, aren't you? You see, that's how people talk to dogs. But of course it riles them up, right? It's like riling up a child. You know, I just have her so that you start to love me because you think, oh, look at that cute dog. You know, we don't have to look at that bearded asshole who tells us we don't live our lives properly. Well, that's true. But while I'm feeding you cute pictures of dogs, you're still listening to me. Okay. Yeah, I want to make this a bit longer to give you also time to, you know, let it sink what I've just said. Yeah, sometimes she looks at me and it looks like she's pretending, now I'm gonna ignore you. No, that's what people do with my content. You know, they stumble into my place and then they see one of those videos and then they think, holy fuck, that guy's awesome. Shit, better pretend like he didn't see me. You know, and then they're going for it. Yeah, can't really help anything. So something else that I pay attention to when I do these kinds of things is how I engage with my equipment. Which to me means, at the moment, you know, I have to bring this stuff into shape. This is something I learned from climbing. You take the rope, you know, if it's like long rope, you lay it over your head, but this is like, I want to have it in a certain size. And then I do this. You know, I make it aesthetic because I'm paying attention to how I'm doing this, right? I want this to be a form of meditation, which is of course hard when I'm talking, but I'm not just stuffing it into my bag. No, I'm taking it. Well, if it would be raining right now, I might just stuff it, but that's just, you know, however. Right, so I want this to be nice. You know, it's like an army guy making sure that his locker is neat. Right, I mean, I haven't been to the army, so I had to teach myself. My room is kind of a mess. To me, at the moment, it's okay, but you know, at least in some form I can bring that meditation with me. And then I have a sock, because I want that these carabiners are stored in the sock. This I made myself. I took a polo shirt, I sewed it together, and here, this is the collar. I sewed that together and put like thick shoelaces through them, et voila, I had a bag for my slackline. You know, this is like personalizing stuff. No, and then this, I also don't stuff it in there. I figured out a way for me that works, because this has sharp edges. You know, that means you're conscious of your equipment and what you're doing. You're conscious about the things you're using. And that means, you know, I don't want to break my slackline. And so, you know, I make sure I wrap this around here.
Nice.
Yeah. Cheers. And then I do the same here. No, I wrap it up like this. And then I put it inside, and then I have all my slackline stuff in here. Right, and then I take this, and this is already a bit like broken. Right, and then I take the blanket and I fold it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just like, now I also want to get going. Probably because I saw a woman. Well, that always motivates me. But yeah, at the moment, there's just nobody. So whenever I see one, it still motivates me to be with one. Which doesn't mean I have to take women away from other men. Because that's kind of shitty, right? That's like the kind of disrespectful behavior that should earn you a punch in the face. So if you know a woman is in a relationship or with somebody else, you know, you should, just out of respect, just stay away. That's how I see it. No, I haven't always done that, you know. While I was in Africa, there were women and they did engage me, and yeah, I just allowed it to happen. Yeah. No more leash. No more leash. No more leash. Yeah. Happy dog. Free. Free at last. Yeah, so when a woman would have come, she was in a relationship, I said, you know, I don't really care, because that's her problem. But, you know, that means her greed and her inconsistency with partners brings you into a relationship or into her melodrama of, you know, I cannot be faithful to one man. You know, and that means ultimately she never really chose you. You know, you were just there at the time and somebody to play with. You know, that mentality, it gets old pretty weak. It gets old pretty fast. And it weakens you, because while you spend your energy on a woman that doesn't really want you but just a penis to make her forget herself, because she's probably taking the pill, and then you can pump your life's energy into her while you don't get shit from her, right? That's like, up, Blythe. You know, she always looks away with her head because she doesn't want to hear me tell her that she has to stay. Because that pisses her off, right? Because she wants to be with me all the time. Yeah. So yeah, my question is, sometimes I want to go through here now. Okay. There's like spiky stuff. But yeah, just gonna turn that off for a while. All right. I don't want to talk too much right now because I've already said a lot. But I did want this video in movie length to be a bit longer. The experience I've made is that I'm quite conscious about a lot of things. And when I tell people what's going wrong in their life, they don't want to hear it. They pretend like, oh, I know what's going on with my dog. No, he's pulling on the leash because he's wearing a harness. If he would wear a collar, you know, he wouldn't be allowed to pull. And then I'm telling this little, you know, this girl that just was here, you know what is happening? It doesn't matter if you have your dog on a collar or on a harness, right? Because some people buy a harness so that it's more comfortable for the dog to pull. But what I'm telling, you know, I was just telling her, I saw this behavior in her dog and I said, listen, if your dog pulls, he thinks he's the alpha, which means he's barking a lot because he has the feeling he has to protect you. And she's unaware of that. So I'm telling her and she says, yeah, no, on a harness, you know, he's allowed to do this. And I said, okay, you either hear it and you react to, you know, you have heard it, or you just ignore it. And your dog is going to keep doing what he's doing because you think that's how he is. Sitz. Bleib. Right, so she listens because I make sure that she does. And if she pulls on the leash, then I'm going to step in her way to show her not your place. Not your place. And right, if I don't want a dog to play with her, I'm gonna push her away. You see, I don't give a fuck what this dog wants. She doesn't want to play with him. She wants to play with me, you know. That's relationship, you know. I don't want a woman to play with all kinds of men if she's with me. She has to want to play only with me. Bleib. Because that's... And I get it. That's an awesome dog. Los? Like, she's a beautiful soul. All kinds of dogs probably want to play with her. You know, some people have something about them that others want to engage with them. Which means, you know, maybe your light is shining a bit more bright. So you have to learn to deal with that. Come. So, this dog is afraid of me. And that's why he's checking me out. Yeah, he wants to know what the deal is. So I'm just walking my path. Everybody else is just gathering together with all their dogs while I'm doing my own thing. Because I'm like a lone wolf, right? Amy, bring. Bring. And then I tell her to bring. Und. Bleib. No, I'm not really. Bleib. You see, she's waiting. Ah! Sitz. Sitz. Amy, hier. Hey! Hier. Und los. You know, it's not like just about being strict. It's about being consistent, right? She has to sit until I say to her, now you can go. And she knows if somebody bothers her, she can come to me. And these dogs know, you know, this is my space and you don't fuck with me in here. Bleib. Sitz. Bleib.
Hallo.
Cheers. Oh. But it's still nice to sometimes go into all kinds of directions, to just check out new places, you know, to see other people. It's also nice because there's more space here, so it's different influence. I mean, there's like much more sun here. It's like a beautiful environment, and you can meet other people. You know, it's not really what I'm interested in, but in a sense, of course, because, you know, I'm creating content. I want people to become aware of it. And so to me, it's of course also the smart choice, because, you know, I'm conscious about what I'm doing. So in a way, yeah, sure, I'm coming here so that people become aware of me. You know, I'm producing online content so that people become aware of me. You know, that's what the game is about. You either want attention or you don't want it. And I've realized that in my life, attention often came to me, whether I wanted it or not, just because of the choices I was making, right? I live my life in a certain way because I choose to do so, right? I choose to be free. And if you live your life in such a way, well, what does that mean? It means you're gonna get attention whether you want it or not. It's just gonna come to you simply because of the choices that you've been making. And right, sometimes you can just throw it just like that, and then, you know, she can get it for herself. And you know, I'm a free spirit, and that's why I want a dog that's also free. In order to be free in a system of fear, you have to learn to deal with fear. You know, you can pretend like you're spiritual, and then you can run around and do all kinds of things, take psychedelics and go to festivals, but ultimately you're gonna live your life like you're in prison, while you can actually live in prison like you're free. You know, it's like, you know, a lot of people like that we label as psychopath or criminals, they are free on the inside to a certain degree. They still hate society, which is probably why they do what they're doing. They hate people, you know, there's a lot of hatred in them, and they channel it into other people and kill them. They could have used the energy to become free of that anger. So yeah, sure, we lock them up. This tool is very nasty. What the fuck? Oh, it's recording again. Okay, I'm gonna make this a comfortable stroll through this forest. I see the record time is something like 40 minutes. I just put in a fresh battery. Right. You know, I know she's taking care of that. She's taking care of that thing that she's carrying. Right, perfect. This is also a biking route, which I'm going to make use of by getting off the beaten track, which I would consider to be the track that's like highly frequented, because I like going into different directions, and you know, that gives you the opportunity to walk down things and up things, right? So I don't like it if it's like overly smooth. I like my life to be a bit, and that's why my music is also a bit like this, you know? For example, I use Audacity, right? And then you know, you can generate noise. And there's a type of noise which is on a certain frequency, which is called Brownian noise. And what I do is I then use the wah-wah effect, and that brings a whoosh. So you can create an amplitude of the sound, which means it's going up and down. So you create like a sinus wave, right? Or whatever. And you know, then you can also go more into depth, right? It's like deep dive, you know, but also if you dive deep, you know how to resurface and then use that energy of resurfacing, you know, and get just as high as you've been diving. I'm like in a maybe intermediate state. You know, I'm like somewhat diving deep, but I'm also surfing like mad. And so yesterday was to me a very important lesson, because I spent for the first time, not really the first time, but it was my birthday, like I said, and I invited people. I made food like a chickpea soup and some kind of bread with cheese. You know, like mini pizzas, but no wheat flour. I use spelt and lentils to make some kind of dough with baking powder, like natural one. Bicarbonate of soda is a natural rising agent, because I don't use yeast, because I don't want to introduce all these fungi into my system that then want me to eat more sugar and more sugar, right? That's why I'm taking anorganic sulfur, because I want to get rid of these fungi. I want to change my diet because I want to change the way I feel and the way I think. I don't want that there's like a fungus living in me that tells me how to eat, because the only thing the fungus wants is to propagate. So it wants me to keep eating sugar and easily digestible carbohydrates, but that keeps me just being the breeding ground for fungus. You know, I want to be like light, right? I want to eat more protein. Often when I have a craving for meat, right, I just eat chickpeas. That's a good I eat chickpeas or lentils. That satisfies it. If that doesn't do it, maybe I eat cheese, right? Because at the moment, that's what I do. Because it makes me happy to eat cheese again. I haven't eaten that in a while. But now I also know that sugar is really awful on the long run. Like really, really awful. She puts her toy down to sniff somewhere, but she remembers that she put it there and she picks it up and comes after me. Yeah, that's how you have to be conscious. Because what happened yesterday, we were playing games. You know, I'm not too much going into detail. And I realized I first wanted to play a different game, but everybody was kind of, "Ooh." It's the diet, it's the mindset, it's the physical weakness. And so I was like, you know, I could have done anything, you know, I could have gone running. But at that moment I adjusted. I didn't try to motivate them into playing like really active games. Instead I said, you know what? I'm just gonna feed you a little of what I can do. You know, because if I give you too much, you know, I'm extinguishing you. But I want to nourish the light you have inside of you. So maybe you see me slacklining and you think, oh my God, I can never do that. Never think like this. When I started making YouTube videos, you know, I could record myself for sure. I never thought I would walk around talking barefoot, you know, all of it together and walk a dog. It just happened. I rose to the challenge. When I first started to think about making, you know, like movies with drawings that move, I started to use Blender, which is a 3D animation software that also exists for Linux, and you can use it for 2D animations, because I like 2D. But 2D that you create with, you know, that gives you the feeling it's actually 3D, because you create layers of different colors, right? That's what I do with my images on GIMP. I create different colors of layers. I'm walking here again now. Different colors of layers, different colors, and blah, blah, blah. You know, I just figure it out, blah, blah. And then you have an image that looks 3D, and if you make that move, wow. Yeah? And it gives you the feeling of depth. Of course, the understanding to compose an image with the colors that I'm using and in this kind of pattern. I mean, that's of course comes from higher wisdom and incredible depth. A deep understanding of what moves me, right? My emotions channeled into an image. Emotions of the people I live with channeled into an image. I spend time with people that are incredibly angry, but that have no method to deal with it. So sometimes I spend time with them, I open up to them, I take up their anger, I channel it into my work. Bam. That's my job. Because I'm conscious of energy flow. So that's my job. I have to deal with this kind of stuff. So instead of getting angry at people because they're angry, yeah, and because they're holding back, you know, I could just say, well, they're holding back. No, that's just the way they are. But I'm holding back if I'm trying to be like them. So instead, I can just do my stuff. Like be a raven or something, right? And figure it out for yourself. How you can be happy, but then also learn how to work with other people's shit. You know, if you see somebody in your family, it's like having a tough day. You know, maybe you don't do it every day, but if they're really having a tough day, you can, you know, drop them some wisdom, and that's gonna probably make them a bit angry, but at least they're gonna get going, because that's all that matters. You know, you have to do something. You have to get moving. You have to, you know, start being active. And that brings attention. If I walk here, you know, I'm barefoot, draws attention. I have a camera with me, I'm talking, that brings more attention. You know, I'm producing content online, even more attention. So I have to learn how to deal with attention. You know, I've been thinking about this kind of stuff, how to deal with lots of attention, right? And that means, yeah, what does it mean? You have to learn how to pay attention to yourself. Sitz. Bleib. She always looks away when I say, you know, I say the German word, it's like stay. She always looks away when I say that, like, damn it, he got me. I thought he would say something else. So, Sitz. Sitz. Bleib. Yeah, see? She didn't want to hear it. So she just looked away. It's like it passed her. You know, a lot of people are like that. You know, so maybe... Los? Maybe you're listening to this, yeah? Maybe you're still listening because you're wondering what I'm about, you know? What am I trying to tell you? Well, I'm trying to tell you to listen. Listen to what I have to say to you. And if I'm telling you to change your fucking life, you know, you shouldn't do that because I am saying that to you. No, it's because you're listening to me. Because you don't know what to tell yourself. If I have a bad day, I make a video and then I say to myself, good job, it's a good song, it's a good video. You know, you created something. You know, whether it's as pretty as you would have liked it to be doesn't really matter in that moment, because what matters is that you've been creative. And
Hello.
so what matters is, you know, not do I really like this hat? No, I made it and now it is the way it is, because in the moment that I made it, it was honest. Sometimes I made an image, posted it, and I thought I fucking hate that image. Why? Well, because that's how I felt in the moment that I created it. And when I... Amy, come. So, right, if an image makes me angry and I think it looks ugly, you know, I probably wasn't patient enough, you know. I just really wanted to get rid of it. That's an emotion. And that's the emotion with which I created that image. And then I have to live with it, right? It's like you get angry at a child or your dog, and you shout at them or you slap them, I don't know what you do. Then you have to live with it because that's what you created in that moment. And so, acceptance, here, here, Amy, here, 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 Amy, hier. Und Sitz. See, she sees the leash. She doesn't want to be on it. Hey, it's Fuß. Because the leash to her means restriction. So fear is the leash. The fear of not being loved, right? That's the leash that is being used to walk you through your life. It's not the government or the state or other people, right? You are holding your own leash because you are afraid of what people think of you. You are afraid, Fuß, of being seen, right? Because you haven't exposed yourself enough to whatever. If you would have exposed yourself more to nature, nature would have made you strong. And you would have started to see yourself, Fuß, as a different person. Somebody who can be strong. Fuß. Hey, aus. Aus. So, I just took the stick away. Fuß. Because sometimes if she's carrying something, she feels like, oh, I'm in charge, right? Oh, it makes her feel proud. That's psychedelics for you. People feel powerful when they smoke cannabis, but it makes them weak because they use something to make them feel powerful. It's like you're very shy and one evening you drink alcohol and you go to a girl, because you kind of like boosted yourself with alcohol, and you go to her and you say, oh, I want to sleep with you, and it works out. But now every time, you have to drink alcohol. Fuß. You have to drink alcohol in order to get to that place. Well, that makes you weak because it makes you dependent. And you're going to keep drinking more and more and more and more and more. That's the same with cannabis. So if you're stuck on smoking or using cannabis to get to a certain place, it makes you dependent. It makes you dependent on that substance. And that means you have to start using it less. And I'm done trying to spend time with people, who haven't figured it out yet. I drop my content, and if you want to learn, that's your job. Like, you have to learn your own lessons. And I've met people who are older than me who think they are smarter than me. I've met people who are younger than me who think they are smarter than me. Well, I all left them behind. Fuß. Fuß. Because they were holding me back with their stupidity, with their ignorance, with their inconsistency. Being consistent doesn't mean you have to always do the same thing. It's just mean consistent with what? Fuß. Here. Consistent with your choices. I want to be strong. Okay, then be strong. Right? That's how I see it. Right? And you know, like her, she's like distracted. She wants to run around, but she has to walk here now. And sometimes I meet with people and they forget who I am. Because, no, they forget who they are. You know, suddenly they're with me and they feel all kind of powerful. Maybe you watch my content and you see me do something and you're like, whoa, awesome dude, or whatever, you know, I don't really care. And you think, oh yeah, because I know that guy, you know, I'm also powerful now. No, you're not. Right? Because when I'm not there, you feel shit. Right? It's like that guy. I mean, he doesn't go for hikes if I'm not there. He doesn't go for hikes if he doesn't use psychedelics. Fuß. So these kind of people all started to bore me. They started to bore me because they were all talking. They were all talkers. You know, they were like, you know, throwing out their chest, but they couldn't hold it. You can throw out your chest for 2 minutes or one evening. Yeah, but try the next morning. Try the next morning. Do it. You know, go for 1 day barefoot, but do it consistently. Fuß. Okay. Bleib. Do it consistently. You know, I'm only doing that now because I see somebody who's female, so I want to show off, you know, I know that. But I'm also doing that on purpose because I'm trying to engage with women. Trying to find somebody, bleib, who's who's like up for the challenge, right? Who wants to engage on a somewhat deeper level and not this kind of boring surface level. You see, and that's why I put out content, not just, you know, to find women, but to find people who want to take life seriously, to bring it to the next level, to push humanity into the next phase. And that means, yeah, sure, there's people you have to leave behind because they're gonna cling. They cling because they're afraid, right? You want to be courageous. So if you're like pulling everybody along, it doesn't work. So in a way, you have to say cheers. You know, I live my life. You know, I'm not waiting for you to go to hikes. I'm not even offering you to come on hikes with me. You know, I'm saying to you, if you want to hike, you have to go hiking. You know, because I mean, I've talked to you about that incident where these 2 young men came. No, and they wanted me to, hey. Okay, I still have a bit of time. And they wanted me to, you know, help them make hash brownies. Yeah, I helped them a bit. And then I felt like I was getting drawn into them again. I felt bad for not spending more time with him because he's struggling. But you know, that's the thing what I'm talking about. It's about respect. You know, he's dragging me out of my place because I allow him to do so, and then I help him. And he doesn't even want to, you know, he doesn't even want my help. You know, it's like you want to have sex, and so you need me as your wingman so that you can, you know, put one in. Why would I do that? Right? You want to get high, but you don't even have the balls to take responsibility for making the cake yourself. Because you're too weak to stop smoking, now you think, you know, oh, okay, I'm just gonna eat it. That's not how it's done. It's just stupid. Yeah, and then you can ask yourself, why did I just order more HP, right? Because rapé is a different thing. You know, that's like telling myself this, right? Because I think, oh, it helps me to work with my fear. You know what rapé does? In a way, it gives me a reason to sleep, because when I do it, I think, oh, now I can sleep. Yeah, you know, that's the same thing. But at least, yeah, okay. After the last time I smoked was so uncomfortable, I cannot even say anymore that rapé is at least a bit uncomfortable, because it's not. If you get used to it, it starts to get boring anyway. I mean, it's like, then you can do rapé. I could do it 2 times a day. It's like drinking 10 cups of coffee a day, you know. That's the stuff, you know, when I start doing rapé, I usually start doing it more and more. Anyway, so the point is attention. Pay attention to everything that you can, and you will realize that there's so much information going on so many levels. And you learn to keep that to yourself and to process it and to use this information to find a way out. You know, you don't have to be like Charles Manson. Have them put you into prison because you were ignorant of what you were doing and the kind of system you live in. Right? If you want to be a crook, be a crook. Yeah, but at least be smart about it. You know, I don't want to be a crook. I just want to live my life. And that means I have to look at, this is my deck of cards, and now I have to learn to play with it. I have certain skills, you know. I am very adept. I can teach myself basically anything as long as it motivates me. I can deal with all kinds of situations, you know. It's just like that. I can adapt really well. And that's what helped me to get through school and to finish my studies, because I adapted. When I had to work hard, I worked hard, right? But I never worked harder than I had to. It's like now, okay, I'm working as hard as I feel like I have to, but also as hard as I can. And that's my limits, yeah? That's my limits. Doing all kinds of things at the same time. You know, that's how I do it, because I learned how to manage all of these things. Because I first had to become conscious, because these things happen anyway. So start paying attention, right? Fear is there all the time. You know, it's a choice whether you want to be afraid or not, right? That's a choice. It's your choice. Do you choose fear? Or, you know, because you choose anyway. So if you stay at home day after day after day after day, you're afraid, man. Too bad, right? You know, like I said, I was laying, withering away or something in my own depression, and the song came, Another One Bites the Dust, and I said, fuck that. You know, not this time, right? Not this time. I see myself in other people, and then I choose. I chose, you know, I don't want to be like Kurt Cobain. And so I choose the substances that help me. At the moment, I feel like cannabis, it's not what I need. It pulls me apart, because it opens me. You know, for one evening, it was, to me, it was enough. I didn't need more. I just needed that one smoke. 3 to 4 hits was enough to satisfy me. So I left it there. Because if smoking cannabis makes me feel shit, why would I do that? I've worked too hard to be right now, to be in the moment, to be focused, to be conscious. I've worked too hard to just throw it away, you know, because I think smoking cannabis. You know, I go to people, all I want is to go back being creative. You know, when being creative pisses me off, I go spend time with people. Yeah, I go outside, I talk to people. And then when I go back, I'm like eager to be creative again. In whatever way I want to be creative in the moment. Yeah, and whether that means to you playing guitar or just, you know, doing it like me, just like throwing out content, because that keeps me going. You know, I learn as I go. I produce content, that's the way it is, and then I learned from that. But at least it's out there already, right? It's like, okay, now I have to do better, right? You know, because in that sense I want to improve, right? That's what it's about. You're teaching yourself a set of skills. And of course, any skill wants to be honed. You know, that's what it's about, at least to me. You know, so I pay attention to the kind of things that help me to hone my skills and that block me from doing so. So fear is one thing that blocks you from honing your skills, because, you know, it stops you before you even start introducing that skill into your life, right? So today the coffee pushed me over the edge of producing that video, because I knew why it was blocking me. Because, you know, saying stuff about Disney, you know, sometimes I'm afraid that they're gonna start attacking me or something, because, you know, I say something about them, and so they would try to destroy me, or, you know. But I'm probably much too small fish to fry for them. I think so. But yeah, sometimes that still scares me, because I'm afraid to lose this stuff that I'm trying to create. There's a lot of fear involved, because I love it so much, right? That's just how it is. And so I just keep pushing, I keep pushing, and I'm trying to make the choices that I can. And because I'm dealing with a lot of fear, I order HP. Yeah, I order HP because it brings me to the next level. It's just how it is, you know. I've been going now some time without it. So I smoked months cannabis, that helped me. It released a lot of tension. You know, it was just the way I felt in that moment, what I described to you in the MySpace video from Stories of My Life on my YouTube channel. There's this MySpace, this sensation of feeling like you're being, you know, you like pulled apart. You know, that's how I am, because, you know, my consciousness, you know, I'm trying to be in love, but I'm always getting back to fear and hatred. It's like, okay, I'm in love, you know, I really love it, you know, I really love my life, and then it's like, I fucking hate her, I fucking hate him, you know, I'm afraid of this and that. You know, all that hate, in the end, it all boils down to fear. Because what reason do you have to hate anyone if you aren't afraid? You know, ask yourself that question. You know, what is hatred rooted in? In fear. And now comes the good part. What is fear rooted in? In love! You know, that's the thing. Because love is a type of consciousness. And, you know, the thing that makes everything work is, in that sense, love. And that's the primordial matter of the universe. It's energy. And if you want the universe to be love, it's love. And that means fear is rooted in love. But you can also see it, of course, the other way around. Because if you create a universe for yourself that's hate, yeah, then it's probably, you know, then love is the weed. You have to pluck it out. And you have to go and destroy the Amazon rainforest. Like, die nature, I fucking hate you. Because I cannot love you. You know, that's roughly the deal. Yeah. The deal! Yeah. So, yeah. It's just about wow. Oh no. Okay. there's a hill I want to climb. I've already climbed it once, no, twice, maybe thrice. And last time my battery gave up on me before I got there, and now it looks like it's not my battery that's gonna give up on me, but my SD card, because today, you know, that's gonna be like an all-out warfare recording movie on weakness and on a pussy mentality, on a I can never be happy. Well, when I do this running and my feet are being massaged by all these pebbles, I start crying sometimes. That's another way of releasing energy. So if you feel weak, you have to push that weakness out of you by, you know, showing strength. Wow. Okay. This is like solid shit. Wow. See, this is not really for beginners. It's like stones are frozen onto each other. Wow. But dogs show you the way. But see, so I'm just trying to be a bit more careful because my feet are still sensitive. So, right, this is like really tough. If I would slip now because I'm too eager to get to the top, I might really seriously hurt myself. And that means, so if you are using psychedelics, they're gonna make you feel good for a while. But at one point, you're gonna slip and it's gonna be a face full of gravel exploding into your face. A face full of gravel. A handful of gravel exploding into your face. So, better learn to get to these high places by yourself. Not by being overly anxious about it and destroying yourself, but by working towards it, right? You know, instead of saying I'm going to go hiking every day, you know, you start by, okay, on Sunday, which is maybe a week ago for you, you say, I'm going for a hike. You don't go for an 8-hour hike or something. No. What you do instead is, you just go for a stroll. But you draw it out a little. Alright? You prepare yourself, you have a nice breakfast, and then you just go for a stroll. Maybe one evening. You know, instead of turning on your TV as soon as you get home from work, you do something else. You get home from work, and then what do? Let's say you get home, and then you shower, and then you go for a walk. Or you get home, and the first thing you do is you drop your stuff and you go for a walk. Yeah? And then you go home, and then you shower. Or maybe you go home, and then you prepare your food, and then you eat that, and then you shower, right? So you're making like stepwise changes. I mean, you're going to work anyway. I'm assuming you have some kind of job. if you don't have a job, I don't know. You know, walking always helps to clear the mind. So when you're on a walk, sometimes it's the same as having taken psychedelics, only going for a walk uses your own strength and it doesn't drain you as much, because what do psychedelics use to get you high? Your own energy, your own power. So you store up power by not masturbating and being conscious or doing whatever, and then you take psychedelics, it's all gone in one session. So if you keep doing that, you know, that's why you smoke once, you feel like, whoa, I'm really high, and then you don't smoke, bleh, you know, it's not the same anymore, because you have nothing to use in that moment. You first have to build up power. So if you live an active life, which brings you out to nature, you strengthen your body, you build up power, personal energy, and then if you smoke once in a while, then it's a major, like, bam, then it's really a stepping stone. But if you just keep smoking every day, you're basically, you know, it's like you're trying to get up the hill, while, you know, you're not even realizing that you're actually not moving. You know, you're standing still on smoking all the time. That's like a emotional and personal development standstill. Anyway, okay. Also, chewing gum is really shit for you. If you feel like you have to chew chewing gum all the time, you have to think why you have so much anger in your jaws. Start stretching them. You know, don't overdo it. You know, but just look into these things. What body parts are connected to what kind of symptom, to what kind of energetic manifestations or whatever. Anyway, okay. I would like to bring this to an end. This has been going on long enough, so stop smoking every day, stop going to festivals just to fuck women and to get high or loaded, you know. Put in the work and stop living your life like it's so miserable. Cheers.